Hello everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Spanish nouns and articles and how to figure out which article to use with which noun. To begin, it's important to understand that Spanish nouns have genders, and this doesn't have to do with the meaning of the word, but like many other languages, depending on either the ending of the word or just the word itself and other properties of it, it's going to be either a masculine or feminine word. So, that being said, let's get into the specifics of the articles. So, for articles, there are 4 main types, and we can actually put a chart together for this. Now, this chart will be able to help us understand which article to use in which situation. Now, we were just talking about gender. In one row, I'm going to put masculine, and in the other row, I'm going to write feminine. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with these Spanish articles is that you'll also have singular and plural nouns. Now, fortunately, you can easily tell if it's going to be singular or plural based upon if there is an S at the end. If it does not have an S, then it is singular, and if it does have an S, it is plural. On my chart, on the top row, I'm going to write singular for one column and plural in the other. That I have that part filled out, it's now time to talk about the specific articles. There are 4 types. First up, singular and masculine will be L. For singular and feminine will be la. For plural and masculine, it will be los. And for plural and feminine, it will be las. These are the 4 articles, and we will use these articles in different combinations for the Spanish nouns that we're trying to match them with. Now that we have this chart, let's talk about some of the specific rules and types of words you can look for to help you determine what it's going to be, whether it will be a masculine, feminine, or singular or plural. So we already talked a little bit about how plural nouns are going to have an S at the end, but for masculine and feminine words, often, but not always, often if the word ends in O, it's going to be masculine, and if the word ends in A, it's going to be feminine. This is not always true, but most of the time. So let's take an example word. Our example word here is libro. So if our word is libro, it ends in an O here, it does not end in an S, which means it's going to be masculine and singular, el libro. However, if I have a word that ends in A, such as mesa, if I have a word such as mesa, this one ends in an A, so because of that, it's also singular, it would be la. La mesa. El libro, la mesa. Now let's use these same examples and turn it into a plural noun. And with that, pretty simply in both of these cases, we're just going to add an S to the end. So this is going to become libros, and this is going to become mesas. Easy enough, but wait, we need to make sure we're also adjusting the articles because this does not match up to have a singular article and then a plural noun. So I'm gonna get rid of those. Now, we had L for libro, so it's plural now, still masculine. It will become los libros. And for mesas, since it is still feminine word, it was la before, this will become las. First, it was los libros, then it is las mesas. So let's practice with a few examples. I wrote a couple examples up here for us. Lámpara, platos, hojas, y cuchillo. Now we are going to practice matching these up. As you watch, you can practice this yourself. First, lámpara. With this example, it ends in an A, which means it will be feminine. And since there is no S on the end, this would be a singular feminine noun. Because of that, singular feminine noun, I'm going to be using la. La lámpara. Next up, platos. First of all, it does end in an O, so we can immediately tell that it's masculine, and there is an S, so it is plural. So because of that, we know it has to be los. Los platos. Next up, we have hojas. Now this one does have an A at the end as well as an S, so we know it is both plural and feminine. Because of that, it will be las. And finally, we have cuchillo, which is ending in an O, so we know it's masculine, and it also is singular since there's no S at the end. So this will be el cuchillo. So now that we've reviewed some of the basic rules for these nouns and articles, let's talk about some of the irregulars. Because not all situations are going to end in O or an A and be very clear cut. Some examples actually where it ends in an O or an A, it's actually the opposite of what you'd expect. For example, I've written a few nouns on the board such as mano, agua, y mapa. These words all seem like they'd be obvious. You'd think it would be el mano, la agua, or la mapa, but these are actually all exceptions. So it's actually la mano, el agua, el mapa. So when you have words like this, you just kind of want to sort of remember what the gender of the word will be. Now in some, such as agua, it's el agua because saying la agua kind of runs together and it's a little bit inconvenient sounding. And for mapa, there are some words that end in a PA or MA that are masculine, even though they end in A. So I just want to acknowledge that there are exceptions to this rule. There also sometimes can be certain endings that typically mean it is a feminine or a masculine noun. Some words have an ending that's not an A, but you can still recognize them as a feminine noun. For example, I have 4 phrases up here, and you can use the ending of the word to help you. First up, la estación, an ending with CION is typically feminine. La televisión, an ending with SION is often feminine. Words that end in TAD or DAD, also feminine. La libertad y la universidad. Those are all examples where it will be a feminine noun even though it doesn't end in an A. Finally, one thing we need to talk about is what to do if you're trying to make something plural but it doesn't end in a vowel. In the examples I showed you before, such as libro and mesa, those both end in vowels. So to make it plural in those situations, all we did was add an S. But if you have a consonant, then you need to add an ES. So for example, using some of these, since they all end in consonants, the first one would be las estaciones, las televisiones, las universidades. Always making sure that the words are agreeing in number and gender. So this wraps up the video on articles and nouns, but if you are looking for additional practice, I will put some links below to websites that you can use for resources as well. Thanks.